Hi, this is Tom Malloy doing a set of videos for HorrorNews.net as it relates to horror films and the horror genre. We did a video on screenwriting, now we're talking about production. As far as me, I produced 16 films at the time of this video. I've raised over $25 million for financing films. I've written 30 plus screenplays, options sold or made into movies, 24, 25 of those screenplays, and I've starred in a bunch of movies. I've been in 6 horror films, and I believe I've produced 4 horror movies. So, horror films and production is something where, just like I said somewhat in screenwriting, you need to know what you want by checking out the films that have been made in the past. Now, where I said screenwriting, you'd read screenplays and you'd see what worked in that. The same with production. The same thing. You should look at your favorite horror movies and go, what worked? How did that scare work? Where did they put the camera? How many beats did it take before the camera panned this way and there was the demon right there? Okay, you should be looking at all those beats. Before every horror film that I've done, I looked at other horror movies and said, okay, what did I really like about that? How did I want to apply that to the movie? Okay, and I'll say this, as I was producing in my career, early on, I had no power. I didn't know how to push a film in a certain direction until I got to the film Screamers, which for me, that was exactly the vision I had. I clicked with the director, Dean Ronalds, and we had the same vision. So I can look at that movie and that's very freeing because if you look at another film, maybe The Alphabet Killer that I did, I could say it's about 20% of what I initially envisioned. So that would mean 80% I wanted to change. I'm so very proud of that film, but again, 20% of my original vision versus Screamers, I could say that's in the high 90s to even 100% of the exact movie that I wanted to make. And in that movie, we wanted a slow build, and we had modeled it after the movie Catfish, which we thought, man, wouldn't that be great if that was a horror movie? And so we looked at all those beats, and then we looked at all the beats in the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre and how that worked as far as the slow build went, and we tried to apply it in the film. So it got to the point where when the film was done, if critics, that loved it, fantastic. If you didn't like it, it's like, well, tough shit. That's the movie that I wanted to make. And that's very freeing, okay? So the key is you have to have a voice. You have to have a voice that you want to put forward. What kind of movie do you want to make? Do you just want to make a horror movie because you feel like, well, that's going to make me a lot of money and there's going to, those are the movies that everybody likes? Okay, we'll talk a little bit more about that in distribution, but you really should have a voice or an angle. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. You don't need to say, well, how could we completely be different? And I'm not saying you shouldn't do that. There's been incredible films because of that, but you could just make a shut up and scare 'em horror movie. I think one of the best examples is James Wan with Insidious, where it was just kind of a throwback to the old shut up and scare 'em horror movies, and it made, $100 million off of about a $1 million budget. So as production goes, the assignment is to really check out some of the greatest horror movies that you love and say what worked about them, and check out how they laid out their scares, how they laid out their timing. Take meticulous notes and preparation, and you'll be ready to produce your horror movie. If you want more resources on making movies, go to FilmmakingStuffHQ.com.